Hello, welcome to Credit 101, Understanding Your Credit Score. This course is being brought to you by Renewal Financial Services, LLC, and I am Angela Keys, the Chief Operations Officer for Renewal Services. I will be your instructor over the next few minutes as we explore credit as it relates to our financial well-being. Credit is a very necessary commodity in today's world. It is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to operate without credit. Of course, we all know that we need credit in order to make major purchases such as a home or an automobile, but are you aware that you also need credit to purchase insurance, establish most cell phone accounts, and connect utility services in your home? Additionally, more and more employers check potential employees' credit and use it as a determinant in deciding who will or will not be hired for a job. No matter what the situation, it is highly likely that you will be forced to rely on credit many times over during your lifetime. Your credit worthiness or lack thereof will either work for you or against you. What is a credit score and why is it important? Most lenders use credit scores to determine your credit risk. Consumers have 3 credit scores, one for each of the 3 credit bureaus, and those credit bureaus are Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Each score is based on information the credit bureau keeps on file about you, which is submitted to them by your creditors. Your credit score as the information on file changes. What is your credit score? Do you know what your credit score is? It's surprising to find that a large number of consumers have no idea what their credit score is. And so when they try to make purchases, they are often surprised or dismayed by what they find. Credit scores range from 760 to 850. If your credit score falls in that range, it is perfect. From 700 to 759 is a good score. From 650 to 699 is an average score. And from 620 to 649 is mediocre. If your credit score falls at 619 or below, your rating would be poor, and it would be difficult, if not impossible, in order for you to obtain credit. And any credit you were able to obtain would be at extraordinary interest rates. How is your credit score determined? Creditors look at various factors when calculating your credit score. The most significant category is payment history, which accounts for 35% of determining your credit score. That's followed by amounts owed, which 30% is used to calculate your credit score. Length of credit history, how long you have had credit, is 15%. New credit and types of credit used are both allocated 10% on the scale to determine your credit score. Now, there are several things that individuals can do to improve their credit, but we've consolidated this information into 7 steps, and we call these the 7 steps to improve your credit. The first step is to pay your bills on time. And we will go into this a little bit in more detail, but I'm just going to outline those steps first. Step 2, check your credit report and remove any errors you may find. Step 3, pay down your debt. Step 4, pay off debt instead of moving it around. Step 5, avoid too many inquiries. Step 6, have credit cards, but use them wisely. And step 7, if at all possible, try to keep earlier accounts that you established. Now, step 1, paying your bills on time. Payment history is the single most important factor in determining your credit score. As I said earlier, it makes up 35% of the total. Late payments, especially on your mortgage and rent, have a big impact on your credit history. A recent late payment has more negative weight than one that was made several years ago. So for instance, if you have been making mortgage payments for the past 7 or 8 years, and when you started off making your mortgage payments, it was kind of spotty, but since then you have gotten it together, then those spotty payments that you made several years ago will not hurt you as bad as spotty payments you may have made within the past 6 to 12 months. Note that closing an account on which you had previously missed a payment does not make the late payment disappear from the credit report. Once a late payment has been affixed to your credit report, that late payment will remain there. So that's why it's always important to pay your bills on time. And we know that a lot of times people find themselves in various situations where they are unable to do that. But especially for your mortgage and rent, those are the two that you should try to make payments on, regardless to whatever other situations are going on. Step 2, check your credit report and remove any errors. Review your credit reports from all 3 of the credit bureaus regularly. Review them. I suggest that people review them, if not every 6 months, at least once a year, so that they can keep updated about any changes that may have occurred from the last time they reviewed it. It's also important to review your report several months before applying for a loan. This is important to note because it will help you to avoid any surprises when you go to make a purchase. For instance, if an individual wants to buy a car and they just go to the lot without having checked their credit report, and the sales manager comes back and they may be able to be approved, but they find that the interest rate that they've been approved for is just an exorbitant amount, and they're wondering why. Well, I thought that I've been paying my bills on time. I don't understand why I'm being offered a 14 or 15% interest rate, and this guy next to me is being offered a 6% interest rate. So it's always best to know what's on your credit report before you apply for a loan, several months before, so that if you find any errors or if you find any negative information, you can take action at that point, so that when you actually are ready to go ahead and proceed with actually applying for the loan, you have resolved whatever situation that may have put that negative information there. In 2003, the United States Congress enacted provisions on the Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act, called FACTA, that allows consumers to obtain a free credit report every 12 months from each of the 3 credit bureaus. So that means you can get 3 reports from each of the 3 bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, every year. If you do not already have a copy of your credit report, you can access it online at annualcreditreport.com. That's one word. And it's very important that you go to annualcreditreport.com, because there are other agencies out there that will provide your credit report to you, but there's usually a cost. Usually you have to submit a credit card and sign up for a service, and they will bill you annually. So you may get, it may be for credit monitoring, but you get the credit report for free, but you have to sign up and pay for other things in order to get it. Annualcreditreport.com does not charge you a fee for anything. You can get your credit report, one every year, from each of the 3 bureaus. And also, if you just want to contact the credit bureau directly itself, the information here's listed on the screen for Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. A lot of times, there was a time when it would have to do it by mail or by phone. You could do it by mail, phone, or via the internet. Internet is the best way to do it because you have hard copies. You can create a paper trail of when your request was made and always have that for your files. But if you ever have to contact any of the credit bureaus by phone or by mail, especially by phone, always keep a log. make sure that you get the name of the individual to whom you are speaking, so that if any questions arise in the future, you can always go back and say, well, I spoke to Sally on July 17th, and this is the information that I received, and I'm just trying to follow up. So annualcreditreport.com, which will take care of all of them, or Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion.com, and you will get the credit report from each of those three. But if you choose to go that route, you'll have to for a good credit score, your account balances should be below 50% of your credit score. So again, on that $1,000 credit limit, your credit should not go above $500. So in order to put yourself into a position to do that, you have to get out of the habit of paying just the minimum amount due. If you pay the minimum amount due on a card, it will take you years, if not decades, to pay that card off, depending on the balance that you have. So if you get into a habit of paying off more than the minimum amount due, the result will be that you will pay off the debt sooner and save thousands of dollars of interest payments in the process. A good plan in order to do that is to start with accounts that have the smallest balance. You may have 7 or 8 credit cards, but some are, maybe department store cards that carry maybe a $100 or a $200 balance. Start paying those first, and if you can knock them out in 1 month or 2 or 3, go ahead and knock them out. After you have paid off those small debts, then the extra money that you were paying when you were spreading it all around between all of your accounts, you can devote that extra money to the larger balances until you are left with only 1 or 2 credit card accounts. Step 4. Don't move your debt around, pay it off. Moving debts around or constantly transferring balances over multiple cards will not improve your score. The most effective way to improve your score is by simply paying down the amount you owe, just as we said earlier in step 3. Step 5, avoid too many inquiries. Don't apply for too much credit in a short period of time. Creditors are kind of wary when they see a consumer's credit report and it has a lot of inquiries on it, especially within a short amount of time. Don't apply for too much credit in a short period of time. When creditors see that, they may interpret it as a sign that an individual is actively seeking credit because they may be in some type of financial difficulty, or that you may be in the process of overextending yourself. Multiple requests for your credit history from outside sources, not what you do, will reduce your credit score. Inquiries from businesses from whom you have not applied for credit will not affect your score. For instance, if you just sometimes see these free credit card offers, you may receive them in the mail. Those are inquiries that you have not initiated. They're just creditors who are shopping around trying to see if they can get a consumer interested in activating a card with them. Those inquiries do not count against you, but the inquiries you make. For instance, if you sign up for a particular credit card, if you try to open a loan or at a bank or something, those inquiries will account from you. And also, it's important to know that inquiries from employers, potential or current, do not affect your credit score either. So someone has the question, well, what do I do if I am searching for a mortgage, or if I want to buy a car and I'm just trying to find out how I can get the best rate? Well, in those instances, when you are searching for a loan, try to limit your search to no more than a 2-week period to avoid the appearance of credit shopping. So if you are trying to buy a home and then you go to various lenders and, lender A offers you a 6% rate, and lender B offers you a 9% rate, and lender C offers you an 8% rate. But if you try to consolidate that shopping all within a 2-week period, then once creditors see your credit report, yes, they will see the inquiries, but they will say, oh yeah, well, this occurred during this 2-week period in March. And so we know at that time all of these are home mortgage companies, so this consumer was probably searching for a mortgage. That will not count against you. That's better than doing a little searching in January and a little more in February, March, April. That is the type of activity that raises red flag creditors. Step 6. Have cards, but use them wisely. Now, I know that there are a lot of financial experts out there who say no credit cards at all. Just get them all, cut them all up. But having credit cards and installment loans, which you pay over time, will raise your score. This is especially true for someone who has a shorter credit history. But the thing to keep in mind is that when you have those cards, you have to use them wisely. No one needs 10 or 12 or 20 credit cards. 1 or 2 at the most is all an individual needs. When you try to purchase a loan, when you try to get a loan, the creditors, it's really kind of a catch-22 situation. If you have installment accounts, such as mortgages and automobile loans, they have the most weight. So creditors like to look for experience when making a decision of whether to extend new credit to you. And an individual who has no credit cards tends to have a lower score than someone who has managed the credit cards they do have responsibly. So it's okay to have credit cards, but use them wisely. Pay the debt down. Don't overextend yourself. Don't extend yourself to the maximum limit. Step 7. Keep earlier accounts if possible. In general, a longer credit history will increase your score. Approximately 15% of your total score will depend on your credit history. New accounts will lower your average account age, which will have a larger effect on your score if you don't have a lot of other credit information. If you have older accounts that are in good standing, don't close them. Now, a lot of times, young adults who are just getting into credit, maybe just graduating from high school or college, their biggest barrier is that a lot of them may not have any credit history at all. So consequently, they may be forced to get a co-signer, or they may be offered a higher interest rate, same as an individual who had poor credit. So if you already have established earlier accounts, if at all possible, try to keep those accounts open. They may not be in the best shape, but at least it will show that you've had this particular credit card for 7 or 8 years, and the creditors will be able to look at that and base their decision on that, as opposed to them having to say, well, I know nothing about this individual, so I don't have enough information to let me know whether or not this person will be a good credit risk or not. Purchase something sparingly, every other month or so, just to keep the account active. For those of you who are, kind of hesitant to do that, just keep those cards. I always advise people to, if they've got 2 credit cards, the first one should be used for emergency purposes only. And I tell people whom I counsel all the time that an emergency is not a half-off shoe sale at your local department store. An emergency is not, this wonderful sale of the century at your local electronics store. Emergencies are things that happen beyond your control, but you have to take care of immediately. And if you don't have the extra funds set aside in order to take care of it, then that's an emergency. Medical emergencies, car problems, car repairs, those things qualify as emergencies because we've got to have our automobiles fixed so that we can go to work every day. But emergencies. And that other account, that other credit card that I urge you to keep, just purchase something sparingly every other month just to keep the account active so that it won't be closed off. Now, it's important to note right here that the experts differ on whether or not, as I said earlier, credit cards are a good thing. And as long as some individuals may be able to have more than one or two credit cards, but a lot of individuals have found themselves in financial distress, and because of mismanagement, irresponsibility, or even just the fact that they just did not know or were never taught how to handle their finances, and they found themselves in trouble. For those individuals, they should start off small and keep no more than 2 cards, again, as I said earlier, for emergencies, and just something that they purchase once a month or every other month, to keep that account active, and once it's paid off, to raise the credit score. Remember, charge only what you can pay off completely when you receive your statement. As I said earlier, will help you to raise your credit score. Cleaning your credit report. Now, I know that a lot of us have seen ads or flyers posted along the side of the road saying that this company will clean your credit report, and some may be legitimate. However, there are a lot of them out there that are not legitimate. Those legitimate companies who work, if someone is coming to you and they're saying they're going to give you a new Social Security number, or they're going to let you piggyback on the Social Security number of a consumer with good credit, run as fast as you can. The legitimate credit cleaning companies can only do what you can do for yourself, and sometimes they charge hundreds, even thousands of dollars to do a job that you can do yourself with just a little patience and perseverance. So let's say that we've gotten a credit report. We've obtained our 3 credit reports from each of the 3 credit bureaus, and so we're going to start the task of cleaning our own credit report. There are 2 things you need to check. You need to check your identifying information, and you also need to check the account information. Checking the identifying information. The first step is to review the information on your report, beginning with the identifying information, and that includes your name, Social Security number, driver's license, and your addresses. A lot of times people will find that their credit report has been mixed up with a credit report of an individual who has a similar name. You find this may often happen in families with where there are first and seconds, or juniors and seniors, where parties share the same name and the suffix is the only thing that's different. John Smith Sr., or John Smith Jr., or John Smith III. You also find that it happens with people who have common names. Mary Jones. So you may be Mary Jones in Louisiana, and there may be Mary Jones in Nebraska, and for some reason, somehow or another, the credit information got mixed up. So that's why you have to check your complete name. It could even be off by, the middle initial. If you go by Mary C. Jones, and the other one is Mary A. Jones, well, creditors may not catch that, and so they C. Jones may have horrible credit and yours may be, okay. So they're going to attribute her horrible credit history to you. And that's not good. That's not what we want to happen. Also, Social Security numbers. This information is all computerized, but at some point in time it was put into the computer by an individual, and we know that people can make mistakes. Driver's license number and your current and former addresses. You will find when you get that credit report that it may list all of the addresses that you've lived in since you reached the age of majority, since you reached the age of 18. And if you get the report and it says, well, this says here that I lived in Topeka, Kansas, and I've never lived there, I've never even visited there, then you may definitely, that raises a red flag, because that's something you need to check into a little bit more clearly, because if that error is there, trust me, 9 times out of 10 there's going to be some more mistakes or more errors there when you actually get to your actual account information. And that leads us to checking our account information. Examine the report closely using the codes the credit bureau provides. Each entry should contain the following information: the account owner, if it's you alone, an individual account, or maybe it's you and a spouse, a joint account. The type of account, whether it's installment, such as a car or home, revolving, such as a credit card, or if it's an account that has gone into collections. The name of the creditor, whomever the creditor was who extended you the credit in the first place. That'll be your car financing company, your local department store, the bank that issued the credit card. The account number, the date the account was open, the date it was reported, the date of your last payment, number of months reviewed, the high balance and or the credit limit, the current balance, scheduled payment amount, the account status. And this is where the codes that are supplied by the credit bureau come in handy. A lot of times they have codes that come from that begin with the letter A, and they may go all the way to M, and then they will also have numbers assigned to them, 1 being good all the way to 9 being a collection or a charge-off. So the account status, it'll say paid as agreed. It was a late count. You had 2 late payments in the last 60 days and 3 for the last 90 days, whether or not the account has been closed, whether it has been sent to collections, whether the business has charged it off, or whatever the situation may be. And there's also a section for comments, which will let, if it's an account that you voluntarily close, it will say that, or whether it was sold, or perhaps the company may have been bought out or sold several accounts to another account, to another agency, it will say that. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the Consumer Reporting Agency must respond to your request within 30 days after receiving any complaints. Once you go through your credit report, and you find any errors regarding any of the information, whether it's the identifying information or the account information, the Consumer Reporting Agency must respond to any request you make within 30 days of the credit report. Well, how do I make a request? How do I ask them to do it? These next 4 appendices will have sample letters of what you can do to write to the credit bureau detailing the problem. The first letter, Appendix 1A, is a sample letter regarding incorrect identifying information. And if you're going to send these letters through the regular mail, it's always important to send it via certified mail, so that when it reaches the credit bureau, someone will have to sign for it, and you will receive your return receipt back showing that, yes, it was received by XYZ Credit Bureau on September 23rd, and John Doe signed for it. So that's the paper trail that you keep. You can also do these, submit these requests online. A lot of these credit bureaus have sites and forms that you can complete online, and you can put in all of the pertinent information that you need to submit in order to get a request started, so that they can look into any errors or omissions that you find on your credit report. But let's assume that we're going to do it by mail, and as I said, return receipt requested. Put your date and make sure you set out your correct address so that they can contact you easily. And what is the problem? Well, on this first letter, it's an incorrect identifying information on the credit report. And this consumer here, Jane Q. Consumer, in reviewing her credit report, she found that the files have her listed as Jane K. Consumer. Jane spelled Jayne. And her actual correct name is Jane, Jane Q. Consumer. And she also found incorrect information regarding her address. She's never resided at 6713 Main Street in Springtown, Missouri. So this is a problem. So she wants to get this information taken care of, because she doesn't want to get her information mixed up with Jane, Jayne. She doesn't want her to get her information mixed up with the other Jane's consumer information. And also, when you do a letter regarding incorrect identifying information, you may also have to include a copy of your birth certificate or a copy of your driver's license, something so that they can verify that the information you are submitting to them is incorrect. The second letter, same situation, but it's regarding incorrect account information. Again, send it certified, receipt requested. And the incorrect information on this, if you will see down in the second paragraph in the body of the letter, the report states that outstanding balance on an automobile installment account is over $11,000. But this individual is saying she's been making regular payments on that account. It's not been late, and her balance is only $2,260. So this information needs to be updated, because if a creditor were to see this information, he or she may think, well, she's had this same balance for over a year. She's got a problem. She's either not paying her bills, something is going on, when actually the consumer has been paying her bills and has paid off a substantial portion of that, over $9,000 since the last reporting. So she wants to get it updated, and you make sure when you send this information and you have account numbers, give the account information, give the account numbers, everything and anything you can to identify that account so they can make sure that they have it. And again, submit any documentation, your position. Okay, this next letter is a sample of a consumer finding incorrect public records information. This individual actually did have a lien, but a lien that was placed on their credit for unpaid taxes, but the lien was released in 2002. So this was from today's date, 5 years ago. Her information was never updated. He includes copies of the lien release, the documentation showing where it was paid. So once the credit bureau receives this information, verifying everything that the consumer has said, they have to act accordingly and remove this negative information. The last letter is a letter to a creditor requesting updated account information. And it's similar to the other three, but the other three went to the credit bureau asking them to address errors or omissions on the report. This one is to an actual creditor. For instance, this is credit or department store. And when you have situations like this, it's okay to talk to the creditor and say, I'm trying to clean my credit. I'm fixing some things that need to be resolved, and for instance, in this case, it says your entries show that during the past 12 months, I had 2 payments which were more than 30 days late, and 1 payment which was more than 90 days late. Okay, and so this consumer says, okay, yes, I have had payments in the past, but for the last 8 months, I have been current on all of my payments and have paid off a significant portion of the balance owed. She goes on to say that he's been a loyal customer for the past 4 years and wants to maintain the account. So can you help me? Can you work with me so I can get this information updated to reflect my current status? And individuals are often surprised that creditors are willing to work with them, especially if they have a consumer who's on overall been a good customer for several years. It doesn't hurt them that the consumer is not in arrears, so it doesn't hurt the creditor to work with the consumer, especially if it's going to keep that business. And we know that it's about the dollar, but if this is an account when you don't have any substantial problems with it, a lot of times creditors are willing to work with you. Now, under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, as I said a little while ago, the Consumer Reporting Agency must respond to your request within 30 days after receiving your complaint. If after its investigation the agency finds that it is unable to verify the information as listed on the report, or that the information is inaccurate or incomplete, the agency must either delete or modify the information. And if they fail to do so, then they may be subject to fines and or damages. And it's also good, I suggest people to read the Fair Credit Reporting Act. It's not in detail, but just to be able to review it and give you better understanding of your rights as a consumer and the responsibilities of creditors and reporting agencies. So, again, go through each of your accounts. After you get your free credit report, go through each of your accounts. Go through the whole thing, all 3 of them, with a fine-tooth comb. Mark any errors, any things you have any questions about, and write a letter or get on the internet and submit your forms online and keep hammering away at it. Keep hammering away at it until you actually do it. I know that it works. I've done it for myself. When we first started on real life after graduating from college, before we purchased our first home, I went through this process and cleaned our report legally and were able to secure a home loan with a reputable, well-known company with a decent interest rate. So I know that it can be done. It takes consistency, perseverance, patience. You got to stick with it. But you can do it, and you can do it yourself. And not only do you save yourself the thousands of dollars that you could possibly pay to someone else to do it for you, but you also save yourself thousands of dollars in interest from having raised your credit. The next topic I want to talk to you about is handling identity theft. Now, we know that identity theft is rampant in today's technology age, and we hear horror stories on the news, and we read about it in the newspaper where consumers' personal financial information has been stolen and or compromised, and they find themselves in thousands of dollars in debts for fraudulent purchases that were made using their identity. 4 steps that you need to take to combat or identity theft if you find yourself in an unfortunate situation where it has happened to you, and they mirror the steps that you would take to clean your credit. But step 1, contact the fraud departments of any one of the 3 consumer reporting companies to place a fraud alert on your credit report. Now, once you can contact those reporting companies, if you only contact one, and if it's a fraud claim, they are supposed to alert the other two. However, for your own peace of mind, I would suggest you just contact all three of them. That way you know that it has been done. Step 2, close the accounts that you know or believe or even suspect have been tampered with or opened fraudulently, and dispute any new unauthorized accounts. And you have to act immediately as soon as you find out about it. And the problem that people find themselves in, that their identity may have been compromised for 6, 8, 12 months, and they didn't know it. They had no idea until they one day decided to go and buy a car, and then that's when they got the bad information that they had accounts all over the world. But that's where being consistent and monitoring your reports on a regular basis, that's where that comes in handy, so that you will know, you will be on top of it, and you will know when something is not right with your credit report. Step 3, file your complaint with the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. You may print a copy of your complaint to provide important standardized information for your police report. And step 4, file a report with your local police or the police in the community where the identity theft took place. If you're on vacation in California, that's where you need to file it. Give the police a copy of your FTC ID theft complaint form, and get copies of the police report also to send to the 3 credit bureaus. And unfortunately, sometimes once that information is on it, you can stop any more damage done by identity thieves, but you're still, most of the time, you're still left with the damage that they were able to do before you found out about it. And if you find yourself in that situation, go back to the steps we had of cleaning your credit report, of checking the identifying information, and checking all of those accounts. And you may have to dispute them, and it may take a while, but if you have gone through these 4 steps to first say that it's identity theft, and have gone through each of these procedures, you should be able to at least mitigate the damages that were caused by the identity thieves. But if you need more information on the subject, you can go to www.ftc.gov and then put in a search for ID theft. Well, congratulations. That's the end of our Credit 101 course. You have just completed this course, and you are well on your way to better credit, improving your credit, and financial success. Now, if you are ready to be tested on your credit knowledge, you can click on the link below and you will be routed to the examination. If you wish to take the test at a later time, please log in later using your secure user identification name and password. I hope this information has helped you, and we look forward to working with you. And Renewal, we look forward to a long, bright future together, being on the road, giving you a fresh start to credit wellness. Thank you so much.